What's up, everyone? This is the Go Long Podcast. I'm Tyler Dunn here with Jim Monis. This podcast is fueled by Hamburg Brewing Company, which the next show, Jim, we have to do in the flesh at HBC off Route 219, right?
Well, we're lucky enough to be a part of a month-long snowstorm.
It just kept coming down today, man.
I gotta tell you, I was just in Mobile, Alabama for the Senior Bowl, and it felt nice just to feel the sun. Like every now and then we see the sun in Buffalo, but you don't feel it. You know, it's like it's out but doesn't work. But it felt good to be in Mobile for a couple of days. It was nice. It wasn't even that warm, but you know what I'm saying? You could feel it though. It was t-shirt weather if the sun was hitting you right. So it was nice. But yeah, I tell you what, the snow can't stop us from at least drinking.
Gotta do it.
It's what
we'll
fuels
get a show
our,
going there.
Fuels our knowledge. It's what led to the liar comparisons that we will definitely get into tonight and would love to use, especially with your boys over at New York Giants.
A lot going on with those New York Giants and in the NFL.
I gotta tell you, Tyler, your Aaron Rodgers stuff was, regardless of what anybody wants to say, your point was made. The guy is, say what you want, but the playoff record is what it is, and he's difficult.
Yeah.
You officially nailed it. You come out, that Giant thing, crushed it. And this is what people deserve to hear. And it's why I'm really glad we're partners, because it's why I like telling stories. It doesn't mean I just like telling people need to hear this stuff. Like you always say, people pay money. They want to, they want to know what's going on. And I think it's fair. And it sounds like our boy McDermott, McDermott got, even our boy McDermott got thrown into the Dable stuff a little bit. And
he did. Yeah. It's, I guess that's, we always come back to it, but at Go Long, I want to do these deep dives, 2, 3, 4 parts. Let's go beyond the surface level best we can. And thankfully over the 12, 13 years, whatever it's been covering pro football, a lot of relationships around the league. And when I put something out there, I mean it, it's coming from a place of reporting and that I'm jacked for the off season. I'm really excited for everything that we have in store. We still got a Super Bowl here. I mean, I'm not getting too far ahead of ourselves, but the off season is when we can really get to the bottom of some big time issues around the league and some pressing questions people have. And if you've got a question, if there's somebody out there that has a burning question that's driving them batty, let me know and we'll do what we can to get to the bottom of it. The Giants, that was interesting. I real quick on that, those text messages, people, it's good that people saw it on the person that Brian Flores was texting and all those texts that were going out. Tim McDonald, John Mara's nephew, who, as we wrote, that's the person you want to know behind the scenes to move up in the organization. And what did John Mara come out and say forcefully? No authority. We like Timmy, but I've heard that he is a good person and a hard worker. I don't want to take anything away from himself as a person. This isn't personal, but the problem with the Giants is it's the ownership, it's family, it's who it's sucking up. It's Chris Pettit, the director of scouting, got in with Tim McDonald, worked his way up. There's a lot of people that don't have a lot of good things to say about his ability as a scout. And these are the things that happen internally when they happen over and over and over and over and over. You make mistakes in the draft and you get to the place that the Giants are in right now, which is rock bottom.
Well, they're ready to make Daniel Jones into Josh Allen overnight.
Man, though, I'll say this. The hires that they made, I think, were fantastic. We talked about both on this show.
Yeah, remember what we said. Just give me the structure, and I'll tell you who's heading in the right direction. The Giants, at least, are getting the structure right. Now, I know there's that little issue we have with, the ownership there, but if they could stay out of the way, the structure is close. The head coach and GM get along and want to work together, and that means everything.
Yeah, it's Joe Shane, everybody in Buffalo familiar with, Brian Daboll familiar with. They're clearly in lockstep. You brought it up again and again, Jim. That's the key to success. You need a head coach and a GM on the same page, and they have the winning pedigree. They know what it takes.
They know what
to
it
find
takes.
and build a quarterback. I don't even have a problem with the Daniel Jones thing because they're not tied to him. They aren't tied to him. If it doesn't work out, this draft isn't just full of potential quarterback saviors either.
No, and they won't you could see what you can do with them. I mean, I personally, we haven't seen much growth in him, but I never walk away. I could see where you would want to work with him possibly, but I do feel like he's had plenty of chances to show a little bit more than he's shown, but what's he do? He's smart. What's funny is, for a smart quarterback, I swear that's one of the things I do knock on him watching him. Like, he can be smart. The turnovers and decision making, like staring down receivers, and just it doesn't really quite match what you're hearing, how smart he is and how he plays. That would be something that I would be interested in. But he can move around. He does have plenty of arm strength. I'm not going to say he's anything near Josh Allen, but I guess what I'm saying is, if you don't have to force drafting a quarterback, if there's nobody you like, it basically gives you I don't want to say a free year, but it gives you a good chance to see what you can get out of this guy. And possibly, I'm sure they have plans to bring somebody in, to challenge him to start. But
I think the concern with Daniel Jones is, so in the same draft you had Kyler Murray, Dwayne Haskins, and Daniel Jones. So Haskins has obviously been a massive bust.
Yeah,
he can't play.
He can't play.
Kyler Murray, look, it didn't end well for him. That's another player that will definitely be getting to it, go long form wise. But it's in him. In terms of his ability, his talent, you at least know he had that Heisman. That could burst out of him. But Daniel Jones, even out of high school, he really wasn't recruited heavily. Right, no. Princeton kind of wanted him. He ends up at Duke. He's okay.
This is kind of what he is.
Right. He's never. It's not like he can fall back on and say, "All right, well, we know Daniel Jones could be a stud because look at that." He's never really had that back to high school.
Right. He's never been that star player. I mean, and then just look at. I feel bad. I'm going to say it. I actually don't want to talk about this guy right now because I had Patrick Mahomes though. Just look at him in high school. I mean, it was ridiculous, right? Just baseball, basketball, football, superstar. Goes to Texas Tech. I mean, star. Just the numbers he was putting up, like insane. So he's had star in him. There is something to be said for that. And I had a teaser with the Chiefs last weekend, -1 with the 49ers, +9.5. You got to be kidding me. How? Real quick, I don't want to go back on that because that's like 10 years ago, it feels like, and I'm trying to block it out. And this is what I love about football in general and gambling. So you were, the Bengals, you'd said you like their chances, and hey, get it. Did you like their chances with about 5 seconds to go in the second quarter? Were you feeling good about your Bengals pick? You know what I'm saying? And that's what I love about it.
They got that stop I did.
And that's why I said 5 seconds.
That's huge.
That's why I said 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Because you had to be thinking, I'm done. Like, they're going to score here and it's over. It goes the other way. It rattled. He couldn't get past it. He panicked the rest of the game. And Bengals took advantage, and give him credit. I'm glad though.
He had a 12 passer rating in the second half.
It was honestly,
it was brutal.
There's no way you could ever predict after the way he was carving them up. I mean, he was playing like it was easy.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right. So I'm sorry, I lost you there, but I was just saying, back to the thing that the stars are usually, they've been stars.
Well, I think that we'll have time to get into the Super Bowl matchup for sure.
Yeah,
We'll do
yeah.
this
We
in
don't talk
person,
about
but
that game at all. No.
one topic that we want to hit on here I mean, I wrote about it. I'd go along in a way, and maybe you disagree because there's some gambling stuff. I went after gambling a little bit, Jim.
This is good
Okay.
conversation.
Just want to make sure we're okay here.
It's good conversation.
Well, we're just getting all blasted in the face with, Caesars this and FanDuel that. And I just feel like the NFL right now, it's in a sense, it's very similar to 1963. It's crazy to think Paul Hornung, Alex Karras were suspended an entire season for gambling on NFL games, never against their team, apparently for their team. But, at that time, the NFL, it was in this fragile state. It wasn't in the mainstream. It wasn't what everybody was talking about. You had baseball, you had other leagues, and it was still like in this embryonic stage of growth as a league in terms of popularity. And what Pete Rozelle did in terms of like just winning over the public confidence, these games are pure. Don't worry. Like what you see on the field is what it is. I think today with the Brian Flores allegation that Stephen Ross offered him $100,000 to lose in 2019, on top of Hugh Jackson throwing himself into it. And apparently he took the money because he said that I don't have the tweets right in front of me, but basically suggested that Jimmy Haslam did the same exact thing with the Cleveland Browns, and it was a lot of money. And he kind of since backtracked. He is the head coach at Grambling, which is kind of interesting. Mm-hmm. Now, I absolutely want to get into
this is good.
The conversations that you've been in, the meetings you've been in, because it's definitely something you need to talk about, ownership, GM, coach, because I part of me gets it, like why losing is necessary for long-term success. Look at Joe Burrow is representing the AFC in the Super Bowl, and he was the first overall pick. The Bengals were in a bad place. Boom, they get Burrow, they turn around. But I think time and time again, we see that tanking doesn't work. It leads to a losing breeds losing, and it just seeps into every corner, every crevice of your facility, and it's a stench that you can't get rid of. You just can't get rid of it. And but by the way, go look up number one overall picks. Like, it's no guarantee that does anything for you at all. So I don't know. I think that the NFL has to take a stand. I mean, if they have to do an investigation, not a slap and tickle. They need to do a real investigation into this. And I don't know. I haven't heard much from Stephen Ross. I haven't heard much from Roger Goodell. It's almost part of them would probably love for this to just go away and hope that everybody moves on to the Super Bowl and forgets about it. But the public trust is such a fragile thing, and with gambling just omnipresent, gambling's everywhere. It's in our face. It's in our lives. You can't go 10 minutes on social media without seeing it. It's that it could chip away at the public trust. Like I wrote, like if $100,000 is what Stephen Ross is offering a loss, what's that guy in Vegas, rolling in millions, billions of dollars going to offer a coach, a player? $1 million, $2 million? It could happen. I don't think it's that crazy.
I just don't think
a lot there.
Okay. I like what you said, how I just can't imagine that happening. First of all, let me say this. I don't know how you tank a football game. It's not like this is where I disagree with teams tank. Now, there's a fine line between if a quarterback's going out and just throwing interception after interception, that might be the only guy that if somebody paid off a quarterback and he just was fumbling, because he's controlling the ball every play, he could turn, we all know it could turn into if a receiver if somebody was trying to pay off a receiver, that's a risky payoff, because that receiver might not even have to, he might not have a chance to even throw a game. I think the quarterback's the only guy, but I don't think that exists. I really don't think players would take money. It's just too right. I hope I'm right. Now paying off a coach to tank or to lose a game. Once again, how do you do that? You would have to bench people. And even then, if you're benching them for what? And they're all looking around like, why am I getting benched?
Mm-hmm.
We want to get a look at your backup. Why? It's the third game of the season. You know, so I don't know. You see what I'm saying? I just don't even know how these guys, these players, that's their resume. Like their game tape is their resume. These guys are proud and competitors. I'm just like, I think gambling, I think back in the day, yes, when salaries, when the, you know, the money that, you know, Vegas was offering some of these guys to take, you know, I get it. They weren't making probably that money, but these guys are making money.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point.
I'm
It's
trying
just
my
so
best.
easy to gamble. It's so
I'm
easy.
I'm
We can
not
all
saying,
download the apps now, and it just.
now I'm not saying players don't gamble.
Mm-hmm.
Let me take that. Now that's a whole other topic we can get into. I didn't say it because they don't have to. Their friends can do it for them. That's very simple, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
whoever, you could have your brother do it.
You know, the larger issue I want to get into though is just
Yeah,
the
sorry. So we're
concept
going off.
of
Yeah,
tanking though. So,
yeah,
you know, that I think that there's a way to do it.
there
You know,
is.
it's such, there's a lot loaded into that word. So you can call it rebuilding, call it whatever you want, but you know what the Detroit Lions did this year, right? That's about as perfect
Mm-hmm.
as you can draw it up, where there's not a lot of talent on the roster.
Mm-hmm.
But you have a coach who wants to bite kneecaps off and fight like hell, and he's at the podium crying when they lose. I mean, they lost, was it 6 or 7 games by a touchdown or less? They fought, they competed. They were entertaining. I mean, Lions fans could buy tickets to those games and enjoy themselves this season for a 3-13-1 team. You know, in terms of a losing season, in terms of a season where it behooves you to get that number 2 overall pick. It's about as entertaining as it gets. That's about as hopeful and optimistic as it gets. So that's probably how you do it. You know, those Hugh Jackson Browns teams, I covered some of those games, and the hopelessness was, I mean, beyond comprehension, where they didn't have talent out there, but on top of that, it just seemed like
They
there
weren't
was
good.
something extra. There was just with DeShone Kizer, some of those games were just, oh, I mean, you had to take a shower after watching it. It was awful.
We just brought the Kaiser. That's funny. You just brought his name up. That's really funny. I was with Whaley the other night, and we were talking about when we worked him out, the little fake workout we did with him, and how bad it was. And the reason we were talking about it is because we were talking about David Robinson, the old NBA player, because his son was receiver at Notre Dame with Kaiser and was at that pro day just to help him out. Just to, you know, because he's like, yeah, I'll run routes for you. He wasn't trying to play in the NFL or anything. He wasn't good enough. But anyway, I just can't believe, like, that Browns team. I don't understand how they were tanking. They were terrible. Like, they weren't good. I just don't think they were tanking. I just think I don't know. What did Hugh Jackson say? I didn't know he
tweeted back at people. So
I saw him getting interviewed today. I didn't get to hear it, but
well, yeah, he went on. He made the rounds to somewhat backtrack, but basically,
oh, good. Okay, so he's not saying he took
he
money.
said he responded to somebody on Twitter and said that, well, Jimmy Haslam was happy that we kept losing, and then this person tweeted at Hugh Jackson saying Jimmy Haslam wasn't offering $100K per loss, or Hugh would be on the Forbes list. And Hugh responded and said, "Trust me, it was a good number!" Exclamation point.
Well, I like the fact that how he said, Haslam, these guys are trying to say that they weren't offering, he didn't take money and fix games. Like, he was just saying he would be happy if we kept losing. Right? Here's why I'm saying this.
It was a good number, Jim. It was a good number.
That's where that part's a little shady. But there are times when if you know your season is, you're not necessarily dying to win. Like, if you're bad, be bad. If you're bad, be bad. 8-8, nightmare.
It is true. I don't disagree
So
with
I
that.
guess what I'm saying, I've never really been a part. I'm trying to think. Like, I've never been on a team that was
To
my
purposely
first year
lose,
with
though,
the
these are
Saints.
like what Stephen Ross did is he's injecting himself
My first
into it with large sums of money. It's bribery.
that's
It's bribery.
it's ridiculous.
Take this money and lose the game. Like, that's not how you do it. How you do it is field a team of try-hard guys that
it's ridiculous. Like, this whole thing to me, that part is just, I can't even believe.
So you've been in
like,
that situation though, right? I mean, toward the end, I remember we've talked about it where you kind of knew, all right, Tyrod Taylor is going to take us so far as a team. We're banging our heads against the wall at 8-8.
Right.
Let's take a step back.
We had talked about, you know, it didn't get real far because once we ended up with Sean, he wanted to keep Tyrod and really just make that move. You know, Kyle Williams was sticking around. Like, that's fine. You know, part of me was like, roll Cardale Jones out there, see what he is, which he wouldn't have been good. I can tell you that.
I'm holding out hope there. I'm not rushing to conclusions.
And, you know, get rid of Shady, get rid of Kyle, maybe try to deal them to some playoff contenders, you know, out of respect. Play Cardale, see what happens, because we knew the next year was that big class.
Totally.
And that was the only reason I had thought about it.
Baker Mayfield, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Sam Darnold.
Well, you're right. Like, we just knew there was a group. We didn't study them enough to know who we liked or anything like that. But I just thought, was it worth bringing up for discussion? And it didn't go far.
It's remarkable that the Bills were able to compete that year and still get one of those quarterbacks. And obviously the reason being the trade out of the Patrick Mahomes selection. But to have the best of both worlds, that's teams dream of that. They dream of, all right, end a playoff drought and get the quarterback the next year.
It goes to show you that. What did they win that year? Were they 9-7?
9-7.
I mean, that's pretty much what they were. You know, it's pretty much what we were every year. You know, it was pretty much the same. You know, same team with a good draft. Same team with a good draft
and good free agent additions.
And good free agents. Almost a better team. I would almost say you're right. The defense was, yeah. Right. Anyway, I just and hey, obviously I was wrong. I mean, to even think about it was probably not. I just thought it was something to be discussed, but it had to do, like, if you're going to keep Tyrod, then yeah. If you're keeping Tyrod, you're going to be a good team. Like, you know, you're competing.
I remember that day that they dealt Sammy Watkins and Ronald Darby, and it was like, you know, they made it clear they wanted to compete, and then all of a sudden this guy's out the door, that guy's out the door.
You know,
you're probably sitting there, oh, hey, what's going on?
Surprise, those guys, you know, well, you brought out a lot on Sammy that, you know, was crazy, but they weren't problems on the team, you know, for anybody. I was just, he must not like their, you know what? Or it's a calculated move. You know, they weren't doing things. You have nothing to lose.
Right.
You know, that it's your first year. It's your team. Do what you want. Hey, that old regime, these guys aren't the kind of guys I want. You know,
is there?
Maybe that was his way. I think that was his way of saying, these aren't my style players. I can win with. Let me show you how I can win and who I can win with. So,
I just think too, like, I mean, Trevor Lawrence, first overall pick, Jacksonville. Yeah, people were bringing up Elway, Luck, you know, the best prospects to ever come through the draft when they talked about Trevor Lawrence, and we still don't know if he's good or not good yet, but it just goes to show, like, there's so many other factors that can affect the equation, like your head coach grinding on a 20-something-year-old while the team flies home, and his offense not working in the NFL and his game management being atrocious and having no ability to develop a quarterback. Like that's a factor. And remember how, I mean, all season long, it was the Jets and the Jaguars and the Texans. No, they traded their first. That's right. But all these teams are tanking.
Yeah.
In so many words, in so many ways, or at least hoping and praying, I should say, to get that first pick, to get a Trevor Lawrence. And then what happens? You have this hire that you think is going to set the league on fire, and it's terrible in every possible way. Like, I don't know. I just think even if you're a team that is middling, it still is just good to compete. And
yeah, oh
you
yeah,
know, it's just good. It's good for the
100%.
morale. I get it, camaraderie, morale, all that stuff. But only good things can happen if you're trying to win.
I told you. I remember. It was with Rex, and I think the last game was the Jets that year. And we could have if we lost that game, I think we could have moved up as high as I think the highest we could have gotten was 11 or 12, or we're going to be at 16, 17. I think that's point being, those 5 spots don't mean anything. Come on, you know what I'm saying? And I remember saying hey, no big deal if we lose this week, wink, wink. We were just laughing. I
go back and forth on it because part of me gets it.
I'm always thinking
nobody's going to remember that game. I do see that.
Yeah. But I can go both ways on it, where I like to bring it up, but at the end of the day, you can't do it. These guys work too hard.
Right. They know.
They're professional football players and professional coaches. Everybody's working too hard. The game's too violent. You can't just go out there and half-ass it. I mean, it can't happen. I just don't think it can happen. I really don't think you can throw a game unless you're a quarterback. That's the only way. And I can't.
Or you're Doug Peterson and you pull Jalen Hurts for Nate Sudfeld.
Or did Vegas get to Nathan Peterman? Is he really talented, but is making more money? There it is. We were right on drafting Peterman. He really can play.
Los Angeles, not far from Vegas, right? That's where the game was.
Peterman has been on the take.
Yeah, clearly. We should just, throw that into the zeitgeist and just see what happens.
Well, he should use that as an excuse because
I was just going to say.
But anyway.
Still kicking around the league.
Amazing. Zay Jones is a good football player. That draft was, Zay Jones is a good football player. The second round maybe was a little high, but he's a good football player.
You know what? On this point, though, Cincinnati, they could have just sold out on the 2020 season.
Right.
When Burrow tears his ACL and they get late in the year. This is probably the best example where you've got a Monday night game against Pittsburgh. They're 11-2 at the time.
Yep.
And Juju's doing his dance at midfield for TikTok, and the Bengals with Ryan Finley just come and just smash him. Von Bell has that hit on Juju. It's such a game in the standings that nobody remembers, everybody forgets. But I got to think a game like that did in some way give some players a sense of confidence that we can do something next year. I don't believe in carryover from one year to the next. It gets way overplayed, but I think psychologically it had to mean something, right? To win that game.
Yes. These guys, I'm telling you, it's their livelihood. They put everything into it. Yeah, they want to win every single thing they do. There's no such thing as not winning to professional athletes.
And it's different in football, I think, too, because it's such a violent game.
Such a violent game. It might go even a little more. You're right. That's what I'm saying.
You're going to put that helmet on and those pads, and you're going to go out there and you're going to risk concussions and torn ACLs and sprained ankles and all this stuff. You're not going out there half-assing it for one play.
No, you can't tank game. There's no tanking. I really don't think there is. I think even that Stephen Ross offering money to him to lose games. Well, there has to be a little more discussion than that. How the hell are you going to do it? What do you want me to do? Like, how am I supposed to do this? Like, these guys are professional football players. What are you talking about? Like, that's such an idiotic thing to think that I just don't think you can do it. I just don't.
So many of these owners are so wildly out of touch with reality. They don't have a freaking clue.
Yes. Yes. Tyler, I think that's what I'm getting from all this. Like,
yeah,
even like, what are you talking about? The head coach can't throw a game. Like, why would you even give him that?
Yeah.
I don't understand it.
Yeah, it's Stephen Ross isn't alone there. I mean, you see it time and time again. These billionaires who are so successful in something else enter the football world, stay in the football world, and make egregious mistakes again and again and again and again. And then so every once in a while, something like this kind of bubbles to the surface, and maybe we shouldn't be surprised that Stephen Ross is doing something like this.
I mean, when you hear some of these guys, like Mark Davis out in Oakland or in Vegas, are you kidding me?
Man, that's what it really pays. I mean, yeah, like look at the most successful teams, like the perennial successful teams. They have somebody smart in charge, and ownership for the most part gets the hell out of the way. Like for the most, I know there's exceptions, but
Always an exception, right? But it's,
Baltimore, Pittsburgh, New England, Green Bay doesn't have an owner.
I saw Russ Ball out in Mobile, Alabama.
Hey, how's he doing?
Good. We work together in New Orleans.
Loyal listener of the podcast, I hope.
A couple people are.
Hey,
I got like some scouts. Some scouts listen.
All right. Tell them they're all welcome on, and if we have to do a voice mixer of some sort to blur who they are, and they just want to tell crazy stories, they're always welcome. So
see if anybody was asked to be paid off to throw a tank a draft.
Oh my God. Anything else on that whole situation? I know there's so much more to it than everything that we've been talking about here, but
yeah, let's talk about just this. The reality is what he's doing, in my opinion, is pretty admirable. I like it. As far as, I don't know what's true and what's not, but we do know one thing. There's things going on that aren't right for minorities in the NFL. I have plenty of friends that have interviewed for GM jobs that could have add a lot of good stories to this. Doug Whaley being one of them. Mark Ross being another one. These guys got done with interviews and were practically, before they were on their flight, the GM was getting announced. I don't even think Doug got out of Cleveland. I don't even think he got home. I think he finished his interview, and like he said, 10 minutes later, it was breaking news that they were hiring John Dorsey. I mean, so basically, like, I guess what I'm saying, if this is a class action type thing, interesting to me. I think there's more people than coaches bringing up Whaley and Mark that will probably have some pretty good stories.
Well, they're all welcome to come on. Because didn't he interviewed for Green Bay as well?
Doug did.
They were pretty clearly going to go hire Brian Gutekunst.
We have to get Mark Ross to tell us the Carolina Panthers story, the GM story.
That'd be a good one.
Yeah, it involves Gettleman.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm saying it exists.
Yeah.
And I think
it's crazy to look up and see the numbers.
That's the thing. It's crazy that a man has to almost give up his passion, I mean, he's choosing to do this, and I hope he still gets another chance.
Is the Bill Belichick text message enough proof, though?
I gotta say,
Like, I'm just speaking strictly legally, looking at this isolated situation.
If the Giants had definitely, yeah, that's the one. That's probably the main thing, right? The timing of those. I would think the timing matters on that a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Right, because I can definitely see the larger problem here. Everybody does, but I just wonder, like, if looking at this situation, it's pretty easy for Bill Belichick to say, "Oh, this," and the Giants put out a statement and said, he doesn't speak for the team, and I don't know how that's going to hold up.
I don't know either. The Belichick thing, I don't think is.
It is interesting. There's a lot of African American general managers too, right? Or how many are there? And then I wonder how many.
It's not a ton.
It's not okay. Maybe I'm just thinking there's more than there really is.
I have to look. I could look that up. I'm sorry. I should know that, but I don't think it's. I feel like I will say this. I feel like it's been maybe getting a little better with opportunities. Maybe it's still not where it needs to be. Like, I don't think it's probably close, but it's the word opportunity is just, God, people need opportunities. And to think that, man, that guy's living his dream and have this owner ask him to lose games. This is one shot in a lifetime.
And when you watch that season, like, remember, that was the year they traded Minkah Fitzpatrick. And Minkah Fitzpatrick and Brian Flores went at it, by the way. They did. They sparred in training camp and it didn't work out. But I mean, they lose 59-0. They lost. They had like 4 blowouts in a row to start the year. And it was almost like Brian Flores said, all right, enough of this bull. I'm going to try to win games. And they picked it up a little bit. He's clearly a good football coach.
That's what I was going to say. I mean, I think that's what I come away saying. He's a good coach. Is he a great one? I don't know that.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely heard from some players that he clashed with. I'm not saying that's good. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not saying who's right, who's wrong. But like that's a thing.
It's almost like you can't judge. Like Tua's, I don't think he's good enough. So
his defense picked it up down the stretch too. I mean, they were winning with his defense. That's how they won 7 in a row, whatever.
He's in that like Jimmy Garoppolo type. That's who they, very similar guys to me, Where you can,
some, African American coaches then, Jim, that should be getting interviews and becoming head coaches. I mean, this league better than anybody.
The guy I really like, and he's had chances, but not really good opportunities. But I think he's a really good head coach. Is Raheem Morris, the D coordinator for the Rams. I always really enjoyed. I got to know him kind of on the pro day circuit and at the combine. We stayed in the same hotel, and man, he's everything. And look what he did. I mean, I know he's had opportunities as a head coach, but if you really look at what he did, it was pretty good on bad teams.
He was so young.
And he was so young. So why can't, give him another opportunity? I don't know how Jim Caldwell's not a head football coach. That's almost like, that doesn't even make sense.
You played him in the Super Bowl.
Yeah. I mean, what are we talking about right now? How are those guys not head coaches? But I think those guys, I thought Todd Bowles actually, I thought he deserved to be. I think he did a decent job. I think he was set up for failure. I want these guys to be in, let them have the right situation instead of being set up like they are. Like David Culley. I mean, come on. That wasn't even right.
He was just a sacrificial lamb for the year, wasn't he? It seemed like he was fired the day he was hired, even.
Oh, he was. This Josh McCown thing was known about. I mean, it was like a strange thing. I feel like everybody will be talking about this for a long time. There's still some openings. I mean, Eric Bieniemy is interviewing with New Orleans, I want to say, right? Yeah, I'm interested to see.
I'll say this too, it kind of gets lost in this week, but like I started writing a column, and I'm going to do something a little deeper on it at some point. So I'm kind of saving it, but I think Brian Daboll's a incredible hire for the Giants, and we've talked about him, and he's kind of caught in the middle of this, in text messages, and he's probably like, what the hell is going on right now? But I think the Giants hired the right guy. We'll see what happens, but I think they hired the right people. I think that they can fix this thing.
I hope so. I do. I root for those guys.
Yeah.
They've done a great job. They really have. Joe's always, like I said, I've known Joe forever, been on the road with him as area scouts, climb the lat, seeing a guy like him get the opportunity. It's great.
Just glad that he can see his kids and his family more now. Gosh, that nugget in Fairburns, Matthew Fairburns' story a few years back, and all the time he spent in a Marriott, missing sports games, and just
titanium for life. Marriott, titanium for life. It was insane. Like 120, 130 nights a year. I was at Marriott.
How many points do you have, Joe?
Oh, I still have a good amount.
Are you a point whore? Do you just hold them near and dear?
No, I use them.
You use them?
I use them. I'm good with it. Like I know when to. There's an art. There's a. You got to be strategic with your points.
Well, now that I'm not employed by Bleacher Report anymore, that was nice. When you could just expense those trips for stories.
It's one of the perks.
I built it up to a good amount, and then for Go Long, I've been taking some trips, and I'm working on a book, like I mentioned, and I'm just seeing that number go down and down and down, and it's one of the saddest things you're going to see, is seeing that Marriott point total just sink.
I'll tell you, mine will sink real quick if it doesn't stop snowing, and because I'm about to see how many points I can stay on South Beach for in about 5. This is, man. You don't mind it, huh?
Yeah.
You don't mind it though.
I think I'm hardened from the 4.5 years in Wisconsin, because it's different. It is different in Wisconsin. I mean, I'll never forget. It might have been 2013. I think either 13 or 14.
I'm going to guarantee it was
cold. It just stayed cold until April, May, June. Like it took everybody that long to thaw out.
I think it was 14, maybe. I think it was right after the 14 draft. I'm not lying to you. It was the first week of May. I think it was the 14. It might have been 15. It snowed. I was like, there's no way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say in Buffalo, I feel like you get to the spring and things melt pretty quickly, and it warms up.
I agree.
Wisconsin, it's
Green Bay just doesn't. Yeah,
cold.
It doesn't ever seem like it's warm there.
Yeah. Well, if anybody wants to come hang out with us, we'll do one of these at HBC, and
we got to do a good one.
We're due for a good live hangout.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll do a season wrap up. Big Bash, March. I think we're good though. We'll talk about the game soon. We didn't have to talk about the game this episode. We'll get into it. Bengals, Rams, everybody's jacked. I know it's not an exciting Super Bowl for most people. I'm pretty excited for it. I like it.
I like this one. I agree. It's
just the big picture, little Cincinnati, a frugal owner that he probably doesn't like the league going to these big markets against LA. Their fans don't give a shit. They're hosting a Super Bowl, and does anybody care? There'll be celebrities there just to see each other and kiss each other's butts, but
no doubt,
there aren't hardcore Rams fans.
No, that stadium is built for the Super Bowl, though.
It is.
It's built for this. In LA, blah blah blah. But
I hate these monstrosities. I mean, it's Bob McGinn. I'm becoming Bob with age, but I hate the big palaces. I hate it.
There is something to be. I know. Yeah.
Pay for your own stadiums and make them, serviceable. If the stadium's about to collapse, I get it. You might need a new one, but if it's fine, it's fine. Just play some football,
I like it.
All right.
I'm with you on that. I'm not if something about it loses its we've talked about the toughness.
Yeah.
Two country club. That's
I want ceilings to be leaking. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I want puddles of just like sewage. You know, I want trash. No, maybe not that. It can't get too bad. You know, what was bad was the Oakland Raiders. I mean,
That was
the
bad.
Coliseum. I mean, that was bad. I remember walking. It was cool though. Like as a reporter, you could go down to the field for the last few minutes and watch a game there before you went to the locker room. And walking down, like the wires, like there's just wires everywhere hanging from the ceiling. And like, it looks like this is a work hazard. Like things could just detonate and blow up.
It did not feel professional.
Yeah.
Did Lambeau hit a breaking point?
Well, yeah, I mean, they did the big
they
renovation at 2000, and I think it opened 2002.
But the renovation can still hold its,
Yeah, they preserved the bowl. I mean, they still have the aluminum seats and everything, but then everything around the bowl is brand new, pretty much.
Got it.
But it did get pretty old. Yeah, it was bad. Like, I'm glad though, as a little kid going with my dad, like we went to a game at the old bowl just in the nick of time. It was fun. Yeah, it does get to a point. I don't know. Are the Bills at that breaking point? Like, I know that they're saying that they are. Like, they took media on a tour around, right? And said, look at this, look at that. Like, it's old, but is it on the verge of utter collapse?
I don't think it's I don't remember ever having that. I guess but I mean, I think it's needed.
It is needed. It is. I agree. They need a stadium.
I hate to say, I'm sitting there like, but
yeah, no, I
think they deserve it because you can do this the right way. Look, it's not going to be LA. They're not going to do that. It's going to they'll do it the right way. I believe that.
It needs character. It's got to have character.
Agreed. You got to fit this. You have this quarterback. This is your time.
Are you saying dome?
Oh, now don't get me started. This is what you're going to call me soft. So
I don't want a dome. Come on.
I know. I'm sorry. Yes, I do.
This is probably where we should end the podcast right here, right?
It's just because you put all this time and effort into scouting these players, and then you have to go play in a freaking tornado.
That's how it should be. The elements. I want Mac Jones throwing the ball 3 times in a game when I see a game at Highmark Stadium. Blizzards.
About Josh McDaniel getting out of there, out of New England.
Yeah.
Mac must not like Mac that much because that was about to be his starter.
That's a good point. I hadn't thought of it that way. You know, he's been turning down a lot of jobs to stay in New England.
That Vegas team, he must like Carr, which he should. Because Carr he played pretty well this year.
He did. He was a top 10 quarterback.
That team's not far off.
Yeah, with that play designer, I should say.
But Josh, once again, though, he and the GM, so I like what they're doing. Those are Vegas and the Giants. To me, are getting it right. Vegas could seriously be like, if Josh McDaniels is a legit coach, which I kind of think he is, offensively. He won a playoff game with Tim Tebow. He made Mac Jones better than he is. This guy's a good offensive coach. That doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be a great.
He was there with Tebow.
I'm pretty sure. We got to check. I hope I didn't mess that up. For some reason, I feel like that's one of his. Yeah. Anyway, I'm sorry. We're rambling on these coaches.
We're close. It was a John Fox. That's right. Mike McCoy was the offensive coordinator.
Dang.
Adam Gase was the quarterback's coach. Maybe he should get another opportunity, Jim.
I knew Gase was because we talked about it.
He just needs another shot.
Like a coach. Anyway, I'm still giving Josh a chance because that team could be pretty good.
All right, let's do it. James, good to see you.
Next week.
All right, let's get that beef on wit going soon. HBC. Thanks for listening, everybody.